Pain heals. Chicks dig scars. Glory lasts forever.
Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for checking out this video. Hope you're having a fantastic day. As always, shout out to the 19. We have a little segment here that I thought it was important to talk about. Fair is fair. I have ripped Lexi Brown at times for her nonsense about Caitlin Clark, especially when she went on Gil's show and did the whole thing with a whole lot of attitude about what she brings. She just shoots threes and all of that nonsense. But she had not just praise for Caitlin Clark, and I'm not going to spoil it if you haven't heard this yet, but also we're also going to talk about the other ladies' absolute insanity as well. Just it's going to be fun to do. But yeah, so let's take a listen to this. I'm going to let the other lady talk because she's going to talk first. Just something I found absolutely wild. I want to hear what y'all think, and then we'll get into what Lexi says about Caitlin Clark, which is, I will say, is pretty cool.
This too long. First team we'll talk about is Indiana Fever. They were first in effective field goal percentage, second in pace, and sixth in net rating. New coach, Stephanie White, who came from the Connecticut Sun, and some notable personnel changes is the additions of Natasha Howard, Sophie Cunningham, Breonna Turner, DeWanna Bonner, and Sydney Colson. Thoughts, Mariah, about anything that I just said?
Well, we've talked in length about the Indiana Fever and what they did in the offseason, but I think they obviously are taking winning and capitalizing off of this Caitlin Clark moment they have going very seriously. And I feel like this is exactly how you're supposed to react to having a star like her. And they made the playoffs. She was Rookie of the Year. She had a great year. Like, this all makes sense. I'm excited for them. The coaching change, I think, is going to be really big. Poor Connecticut.
They're
in the East.
Yeah, we'll get
there
to
in a second.
them.
But yes, but I think that it's
All right, before we get to the real kicker, I just want to say, and I've yet to do one, although I may. This is, I believe, Mariah Rose, daughter of Jalen Rose, incredible Nepo entitlement baby, and she is one of the biggest Caitlin Clark haters out there. Some of her takes, oh my goodness, I may have to do a best of Mariah video at some point. Absolutely wild. But anyway, I just wanted to put that out there. I should have done that right before I hit play, but here we go.
going to be really exciting. I'm not going to call them championship contenders or anything like that, but I think that it's going to be. You think that they're contenders?
Yes, I do. I'll tell you why.
Wait. Let's talk about this for a second. What do you think is okay? When I say championship contender, I mean I would bet my own personal funds that they are going to win a championship. I guess contending means they could, but I think a contender is like, I would put you in there right now today. I think you will win.
Yes.
You think that?
I guess my contender means
So here you go. And this is what we've talked about before for a lot of things, whether it's, the overuse of the ists and the isms and the phobes and all that, where they're used incorrectly. And here's Mariah doing it. In fact, it's so over the top that she even slid in really the more correct definition because she does not want. I should have done the videos on her before so you'd really understand this. She does not want to praise Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever. So she changed the definition of the word contenders. Any of you listening, you're following sports, when you hear about a team being a contender, that is one of a group of teams that people think have a shot at winning the title, that the championship, the Super Bowl, the World Series, whatever it might be. Which she kind of slipped in there. But for her, no, it's only, I mean, there's no word contenders if the idea is it's just one team, which is what she's saying. No, it's only the team that I'm so sure of, I'm going to put my money on them. Because she does not want to say the Indiana Fever. It's absolutely wild. But you're going to really want to hear the Lexi stuff.
Yeah. I'll tell you why. So
yeah, get to the finals.
Yeah,
Get to the finals.
And I'll tell you why. I think that there was a lot of misconception about Caitlin Clark's overall game. I think that people got so caught up in her scoring that they didn't realize how good of a point guard she was in college. So I think that once all the
Well, not to interrupt you, but she didn't get the opportunity to show that as much in college because she wasn't surrounded by as much talent.
But the plays that she was making still, despite all that, was like,
Okay, real quick, because we're gonna go a little way. Sorry, but I want to say it's bizarre to me that Mariah actually said that about she didn't get okay, but he led the nation in assists 3 years in a row. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, right? It was conference the first year, and then the nation the next 3 years. So what exactly didn't she get to show in terms of her playmaking ability? But yeah, anyway, all right, let's hear Lexi go.
Insane, but like people were so caught up in the logo threes and the highs, the 23-point attempts per game, which absolutely I understand that. Like it was so much fun to watch. But I always said she could potentially be one of the best point guards to ever play in the WNBA. And everyone was like, shut up, Lexi. And I was like, all right. Led the league in assists last year as a rookie, which is incredible. So I think after, they take the inventory of the season, you look at what you have, they said, we need to give her a more elite supporting cast and potentially not as many players that need to be spoon-fed buckets. So that's no disrespect to anybody that was on her team last year. Like, obviously, they made the playoffs. They'd had a great season. But you have a Natasha Howard and a DeWanna Bonner that can just straight up go get their own bucket. And they're huge, okay? These are tall people, okay, guys? I think they're both like 6'3" and 6'4", right? So matchup nightmare. Sophie Cunningham has been playing out of position in Phoenix for like 3 years. So she probably will get to go play the three again. She's a very underrated defender. And now you have very elite rim protection in Bree Turner. So now you go keep Aaliyah Boston out of foul trouble, which means she's going to be able to stay on the court. So, do I think that they are a contender? Yes, I do. Then,
Wow. Okay, now I will say the one thing though is kind of funny when Lexi's talking about, oh, people just thought this and that and talked about the logo threes, and I'm like, well, okay, but Lex, you were one of those people. You were one of those people who said all she does is shoot threes, and you said it with a whole lot of attitude. But I'm not going to harp on this because fair is fair, and not just on Caitlin Clark, but on the whole team. That was as fair. This is wild because we're talking about a player doing this. That was as fair an analysis of the current fever as I have seen in all or like heard in all of sports media. And maybe, and without going into a 20-minute deep dive, it may have been one of, if not the best and fairest analysis of the Indiana Fever for this season. And if you didn't catch it, she said Caitlin Clark could go down as one of the greatest point guards in WNBA history. I'm going to say greatest, but still, we're talking about someone who only just played a rookie year, no matter how good it was. That is a huge, huge statement for Lexi Brown. So I'm going to shout out kudos to her for that. She also said, like she mentioned about Sophie Cunningham being an underrated defender, which I think as well. So I want to do this video again, being fair, right? I try to be fair. I have praised Angel Reese when I thought it was deserved, regardless of how I feel about Angel Reese. I savaged Lexi Brown for her attitude about the whole shooting three stuff, but fair is fair. And this was a good analysis. And my other point that I will make is hopefully, and I don't have it lined up here. I'm sorry, I wasn't actually gonna show it, but it popped into my head watching Lexi. Is Courtney Williams said some very nice things the other day about Caitlin Clark as well on, I think, her father's podcast, if I'm not mistaken. And it's not going to change anything with the fans. Okay. The fandom nonsense is always going to be there. The haters in the sports media are always going to be there. But if you get more players who come out and look, you don't need a bunch of players in a league worshiping another player and always talking about how great they are. We don't need that. But what you do have to get away from is the stuff like the original Lexi thing I showed with the attitude and talking about how bad she is, the Geno Auriemma stuff. And if you get players who at least once acknowledge what Caitlin Clark's done for the league in terms of growth, and be honest about her ability to play the game. And then you just go out and play, and you don't get involved in the fandom stuff, and you stop checking your name on Twitter all the time, and you just go play basketball. That's all anybody wants. That is all anybody wants in terms of the fans. That's all they want from the players. Just go out and play. No one's asking you to worship Clark, but you also don't have to go out of your way to hate, and you also don't have to say all this nonsense about her fan base either, which is a big one. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. I just thought this was really cool to hear from Lexi Brown. I thought it was well thought out, concise truth, and about the team, and also high praise for Caitlin Clark. I have not heard any player talk about her. I've not heard anyone in the sports media talk about her like that. At least not that I can recall right now. There might be, maybe some NBA players or something. But yeah, anyway, I thought this was kind of cool. Maybe it's a turn the corner moment for the players. But anyway, let me know your thoughts on all this in the comments below. You can let me know about Mariah Rose as well. Oh man, there's some clips I could play for you. Maybe we'll do that in another video. I'm gonna leave it there. Appreciate all your support. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I will talk to you later.